Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Carter Walker. I love talking about movies, music, comics, and games. Yesterday, I got to check out the Jake Gyllenhaal 2024 reboot of Roadhouse. When I say reboot, it's pretty loose with the term reboot. A lot of it is different from what I can understand. I've never actually seen the original Roadhouse from the 80s with Swayze. It was on my list, and I was actually going to watch it yesterday, but then Roadhouse dropped yesterday. I got my release dates mixed up, so I didn't get the opportunity to check out the old one, which is kind of a bummer, but I also get to bring like kind of a unique take because I'm a younger guy. Haven't seen the old Roadhouse, and I'm giving my take on a new one, so this should be pretty interesting. Before I get started about Roadhouse, getting into the positives, mix, and negatives on it, have you seen it? If you liked what you see, if you like this review, please feel free to check out some of my other ones, and subscribe, stick around. Let me know in the comments what you thought about Roadhouse. I'm guessing a lot of people are going to prefer the original, especially after kind of looking into it and seeing how different this one really is. So with this 2024 Roadhouse movie, stars Jake Gyllenhaal. It's got Billy Magnussen. He's one of the antagonists in the James Bond No Time to Die, and I thought he was really charming there. He also is joined by Conor McGregor, who is really interesting to have in this movie. And then they also marketed the crap out of Post Malone. Don't get your hopes up. Post Malone is in this for like half a scene. Literally the first like minute and a half, 2 minutes of the film, Post Malone's in it, and he gets out. I swear I saw trailer footage where he's actually in it, but he's really not. This movie follows Jake Gyllenhaal as he plays an ex-UFC fighter named Dalton, which is a pretty big change from the original, and he gets hired to go bounce. He's a bouncer at this roadhouse down in the Florida Keys. And basically there's a bunch of rich people in the Florida Keys that want to tear it down or something, and he gets hired to go kind of protect it. I'll jump right into the positives here. Like I mentioned, I haven't seen the original Roadhouse, so I could be totally mixing anything up. If I'm incorrect on anything, let me know down in the comments below so I can get that amended, because like I said, I haven't seen the original Roadhouse, so I really could just be wrong on all accounts here. But I actually really enjoyed the first two acts of this film. It's just so charming in a way where it's a lot of fun, and yeah, it's pretty formulaic, pretty familiar, very generic, but it's just very fun. There's a lot of charisma to go around here. Jake Gyllenhaal is just very charismatic, and my favorite performance of Gyllenhaal is Nightcrawler, and it's very, very different from his character in Nightcrawler, so I really enjoyed seeing like a friendly Jake Gyllenhaal. Some of the line readings that he gets are a little cringe. It's just the dialogue and the script aren't the best. I'll get into that. But as far as the positives go, I thought Gyllenhaal did a good job of just being like a likable, charismatic dude, where he walks into a room and he is able to just talk to these people, and he's able to like make jokes with the enemies, with the gangsters, and just kind of joke around with them, have a nice banter with them. Another thing that I thought works pretty well was some of the dry humor in this was really funny. There's a character, it's the same guy in the menu, he's one of the customers in the menu. His name's Arturo. I totally spaced on his last name. He plays one of the gangsters here. I thought he was really funny in the film. He's very unique, very charming, and he's just like wholesome in the film. He's like, oh hey man, it's good to see you again, as they're like tearing up the bar. And it's just kind of funny, just a little like offbeat kind of humor like that really made the movie just kind of be that much better in my opinion, in my eyes. I love when there's old school action type movies are able to just kind of integrate some fun humor in there. It just makes it like so fun to watch. And as far as like my love for action movies, my dad is a huge action movie guy, loves Terminator, Terminator 2, True Lies. He showed me Eraser, the Arnold Schwarzenegger movie when I was a kid, showed me Rambo. I mean, all those great action movies, like Die Hard. We just went and saw Die Hard in the theaters over Christmas. All that great stuff. My dad is a huge action fanatic, like Mad Max. I could go on and on for like a day just listing all these action movies my dad has shown me. And so when I watched this, it felt like it was something I'd watch with my dad. And I mean that in like the best compliment that I can give. Being a film student, a lot of my classmates are like so obsessed and just focused on what makes a movie good, what makes it impactful, and what makes it just so unique. And I understand that. But I'm also really glad that this movie was just a ton of fun, and it felt like something I'd watch with my dad on a Saturday night. And if that's the vibe you got from the trailer, you'll probably enjoy most of this movie. Now, they have Conor McGregor in here as one of the henchmen, and I actually really enjoyed his turn here. I thought he was a ton of fun. He's not the best actor, but he's a performer, and he knows how to put on a performance, how to just be so, like, dripped in swagger. He's doing his, like, Conor McGregor walk, and he's butt naked. Just funny stuff like that, where it makes the movie have a little bit more flair and personality where it could have been really dry and just completely soulless. Getting into the mixed tier, my biggest thing is going to be the action. There are some great action moments in here. My favorite TV show of all time, Daredevil, sorry, I have to look at the monitor, Daredevil right there, has some of my favorite action sequences of all time, including sequences where Daredevil just gets tired in the middle. He lays on the ground for a beat and then gets up. And there's some fight sequences in here that, in a certain way, reminded me of Daredevil. And by no means do I think Roadhouse has good enough fight scenes to be in Daredevil. It definitely doesn't. But it has those moments where the protagonist just lays there and then gets up. Or where someone's just like taking a breath and then gets up. And stuff like that I thought was so, so good. And there's a few unique action sequences in here that I enjoyed, but it's actually a little lighter on the action than I expected, and it pulls its punches a lot more than I would have liked. The only thing I know about the original is the prison line.
The guy has Sweetie's head, and he says, I used to guys like you in prison. By the looks of this guy, this is not consensual sex we're talking about.
And unfortunately, you do not get the prison line. Give the people what they want. We want the prison line. And so, not getting the prison line, along with just pulling some of the punches, there's not that much blood, not that much like gruesome death. There's one death that's pretty memorable actually, but it feels like it pulls a lot of the punches with the action, and so that was a big bummer. And also the action is shot super up close, but with a wide angle lens, probably like a 14mm lens, and it feels like it's just like so far away yet you're so close, and they did that to kind of emphasize the perspective on it. And while I understand what they're going for, I don't think it totally works. It actually ended up taking me out of the film a few times. And there's moments where they like speed up the footage, it feels like, to where it's like super glossed over and super sped up. So it's like, and it just felt very awkward and very odd, especially in the middle of a fight scene. And so at points like that, it really took me out of the film, and I really didn't enjoy that. Also, another big mix here is going to be the characters in here. Obviously, this movie is just written to be a generic fun action vehicle. A lot of the character motivations, a lot of the character choices are just so paper thin you can literally stick your finger and poke holes through it. And if that's going to be an issue for you, then I would take note of this movie. Going into the third act, I was like, this is ridiculous. There's so much that's going on, like just so many different things that they added in. Like, here's the villain, he's trying to do this, and oh, here's his dad in prison, he's scared of his dad, you don't know why, and his dad is friends with these cops, and there's corruption. The corruption plotline didn't work out at all. And then also his dad sends in Knox to make sure everything goes well, but Knox hates him, and it's like cool dynamics that could have been fleshed out, but they don't flesh it out. They just choose to focus on Jake Gyllenhaal just kind of walk in, and he's going, hey man, the hospital's 25 minutes away. And so in certain points of time, I was a little disappointed with how they took the film, especially, like I've said throughout, going into the third act, it feels like it jumps the shark quite a bit and just goes so overboard in a way that I really didn't enjoy. It didn't work for me at all, and so unfortunately the last act of this movie was pretty disappointing. There's a fight scene in here in the Roadhouse that I really liked in the last act, but that's about it. I felt like it was like trying to do too much, trying to be a little too big, too bombastic, when in reality I would have just preferred an all-out brawl in the Roadhouse. I would have loved that. The sound design for this film is actually really good, especially in a sequence where Billy Magnussen, I believe his name's Brant, and Dalton are talking in the Roadhouse, and Billy Magnussen's like laying down, you know, like he's just making fun of him, talking down to him, classic villain stuff. And he's talking about like punching someone, he's like bam, bam, and then he says bam, like, and it has a lot of weight, so he's like bam. But right when he says that, the billiards in the back click together, and it just has like this extra oomph where I was like, oh, whoa, okay, like, I'm locked in now, I'm very focused. Like, that was so interesting to me, such a unique, interesting choice in this really generic movie that I actually really dug. And so small things like that really get me excited, if you can't tell, and I thought that was really awesome. However, the rest of the movie, a little disappointing, so let me go into the negatives, to where my biggest negative here is, yeah, it's generic. You know exactly what you're going in for as soon as you turn on the movie, and even just like kind of seeing the trailer for the original Roadhouse, hearing what I hear about the original Roadhouse, this takes everything interesting about the original Roadhouse and kind of just dumbs it down. There's no bouncer culture, there's no touching guys in prison, there's no throat rips, nothing crazy like that. It's just like Jake Gyllenhaal, ex-UFC fighter, talking to some guys at a bar. And there were some points in here that I think it really worked, like in the second act where he's kind of fitting in at the bar, everything's going swimmingly. His dynamic with some people at the bar I really enjoyed. And my camera just died, so that's awesome. Again, the last act of this film was pretty disappointing to me. I don't think it resolved itself in a super satisfying manner. A lot of the character motivations and actions are really paper thin in a way that I just don't think worked out very well. However, I don't think Roadhouse is bad. It was definitely entertaining, and if you've seen the trailer, you know what you're getting in for, and you love old school action movies like I do, you'll probably enjoy this movie quite a bit. So this is where my rating system has a little bit of its flaws. I'm not going to give Roadhouse like a super stellar score because it was very entertaining, but again, I don't think it's as good as movies that I've given like 7s to, so I will give it like a 6.5, 6 out of 10, to where I had a fun time with it. Definitely a little lackluster in the third act, but overall, I had a fun time watching it, and I can't deny that it got a few laughs out of me, and I was pretty interested throughout. However, again, it's not perfect, so yeah, that's 6.5 out of 10. I'm gonna stick with that. And thank you again for Porter for this awesome camera. This thing is so sick. Thank you for showing me how to use it. And everyone, have a great rest of your day.